Hello and welcome to another cleaning tutorial. Today we are looking at the Sony PlayStation 1 dual analog, the analog DualShock controller. And this is model, what is it, 1200 I think? Yeah, the 1200 model. There's an analog controller before this. The difference between the two is that when you push down the analog button here, if you have one of the earliest analog controllers, this is going to light up green, and on later versions it's lighting up red. So this is a later model. Also there is a previous model of the PlayStation 1 controller that don't have any of the analog sticks. That's the one that originally was released. The analog came later. But enough of that, we're going to take it apart. I'm going to show you the ins and the outs. And for this you are going to need a fine tip Phillips, a little detailed screwdriver, because you have to take out the screws on the back here. So all in all there are 7 screws and they're all very similar. So I'm just going to take off the rubber band here first, kind of free this up, because I'm also going to clean this cord, because the cord looks pretty nasty as well. And you can see here that there's some areas with very excessive grime here, like especially here. That's typically where you would have it in the palm of your hand, and your sweat and everything just kind of seeps into it. So I kind of feel like when we take this apart, it's going to be interesting, to say the least. This has definitely seen some better days. So anyways, we're going to open it up and see what we find. Oh yeah, these screws here are kind of stuck, so they don't come out easily. So let's see what we can come up with here. There you go, finally. So we got all the screws out, and we should now be able to just separate this, although something tells me that it's going to be a little stuck still, because the screws certainly were. So let's see here. There we go. And if you hold it down, it's easier because the buttons will be kept in place. So there we are. And then you can see the little ribbon cable right there that's connecting the pieces. So we will just maneuver everything out. So let's see if we can get this out here. So what I'm trying to do here is get this out, because the ribbon cable, as you can see over here, holds the triggers and the bumpers. So there we go. So that'll just slide out. And now that we have the bumpers loose, I should say the triggers loose, we can throw that in the water, which we've prepared earlier. So you take those out, and you have the triggers and the bumpers. And that's pretty much all there is for the bottom piece here. So we can just take this whole thing and throw that in the water. And now you can see the insides here. So you have controllers, the analog right here, and of course the main motherboard. So, you can take these off. This is just a matter of pinching them up, just like that. and that'll take those off. So we'll throw that in the water. Same thing here, just very gently lift them up and drop them on the floor and throw them in the water afterwards. And then you do also have some screws here, and you got one right there, and you got one at the top here, and if I remember correctly there was one underneath, but I'm not sure. It's been a while since I've taken them apart. So definitely these two screws. And this one at the top. So there we go. And was that all? Yeah, that was all. So now it's just a matter of taking these and just lifting them out. And just try to be a little gentle. If you use too much force here, it is possible that you could tear the wires, which of course you do not want to do that. So let's see if we can get this out. Seems like it's actually glued in place. So I'll just wiggle that a little. Normally I don't recommend that you pry anything, but this thing is not wanting to play along. So there we go. So yeah, that was just a little sticker there that's basically become attached to the plastic over the years, but now that we have both of them out, we can then lift the whole circuitry board and the wire, and there you go. So this is the analog button, or the light, and then you have the bottom piece right here. So that's your entire circuit board here. And you do not want to force any of this, because as you can see here, there's no socket. This is basically just glued on. So if this comes loose, then you're up a bad place without a paddle. So we'll take these at least, put those in the water, just like that. We'll put this to the side, and we're going to clean that later. And then focus on the buttons here, so you can just toss everything out here, and then you have the top piece, and as you can see right here, that is full of grime right there, so definitely going to give that a nice clean. And then the buttons themselves, we'll just throw that in the water as well. And then we'll take care of this one first, I think. So first things we're going to do is just blow some compressed air on it, and then afterwards we're going to do a Q-tip with some isopropyl alcohol and just go over anything that doesn't look right. So there we go. Now I've mentioned this before. I highly recommend you getting one of these if you haven't already. If you're doing any kind of work on electronics, this is an absolute lifesaver. And of course we can just take the analog sticks as well and just take those out. You can see here that's just stuck on a pin. So we'll lift those straight up and not use any excessive force. Just slowly get them out. Just like that. And then check all of these, see if they look okay or if they need a little bit better cleaning. And they all look pretty good actually. I don't see any problems here, so you might not need to do anything more than what we've already done. This actually looks really good. So well, there's a little bit right there, so we'll take that off. You can see here there's a little discoloration right there. Nothing major, but hey. And what we do with this is we just wet one side of the Q-tip and then go over this. And the reason why we can use isopropyl alcohol is because it evaporates pretty much immediately. So you know, there's not going to be any moisture left that can cause havoc on your electronics. Not to mention the fact that, you know, oh yeah, that's actually a lot more on the bottom piece right there. But once you have swabbed it on, you can just turn the Q-tip around and then use the dry side and pick up all the moisture that didn't evaporate. So, but yeah, you can actually see that that was a lot more than I originally thought. So we'll just go over that, clean that up, and then look at the other one. The other one looks a lot better, but still just go over these details here, because after all, this is where the fingers are pushing those buttons all the time. So that looks good, and this looks good. So I think what I'll do is I'll just take a little bit on this tape here, get rid of some of that dust that's just sitting on top of that, just like that, so that the glue is now nice and shiny again. And then put that to the side, and we're going to focus on the cord. And for the cord, I'm just going to use some paper towel and some Goo Gone. And Goo Gone is extremely potent stuff, so you know, you don't want to use that in connection with anything that you're afraid of. Like it'll eat through stickers, it will take logos off, for instance. So you know, be careful where you use it, but I am going to use it on the cord here. So I am just going to just go over it, just like this, and then just do a couple of passes and see what I can get off. As you can see here, that's just one pass. And then when you get close to the electronics, just be very mindful. But yeah, I mean, look at that. So yeah, I'm gonna do a couple of passes on that. Now a lot of places where they refurbish game consoles, they tend to leave the cables alone because, you know, that's not the selling point. But I kind of feel like, you know, it's part of everything and it's part of the experience, and if the cables look bad, then I want to fix them. And especially with like this here, I mean, just look at that. It's crazy. Just the amount of gunk on this cable. So next I think we're going to do some orange pledge just to kind of get the goo gone off. And then we'll do some dry passes after that just to get all the moisture off the cable. So yeah, you can see here, you know, how nasty this cable was to begin with. A couple of dry passes here. So yeah, I mean, went from that to that. So yeah, like to clean the cables whenever I can. And as for the contact here, that looks good, but I'm just going to go over that ever so slightly with some isopropyl alcohol. Just because that's the part that is going to go into the machine. And especially like the logo, these little recessed areas, they tend to be full of gunk. Piece of paper to wipe that off with. Okay, so this now is pretty much done, so we'll just put that to the side here. And then we'll focus our attention on the water and the soap. Okay, so first of all, I need to apologize. The battery of the camcorder went out as I was washing everything. So that footage is lost, but it's basically just a matter of taking a toothbrush with some soap and just scrubbing everything so that you get all the gunk out of there. So that part isn't exactly tricky. So let's just start by putting everything together again. And the first thing we want to do is we want to take the front piece to get most of this organized immediately. So we'll flip that over, take the start select, and just push that through just like that. And then we can take the directional pad, put that in, and then you got this little brace that'll go over the corners and just kind of lock that in place. And of course we've got the cover here that's going to send the input signal to the circuit board. Then we got the buttons, and all the buttons are made so that they can only go one way in thanks to these little protrusions here. So there is no way that you can do this wrong, at least not that I'm aware of. So you just push these in wherever they fit, just like that, and then the last one over here. And then we'll take the button cover, and you can see it has a rectangular cutout for those two pins at the middle there. So we'll just push that over just like that. And we're not going to put in the analog light yet, that comes later. So we're just going to put that to the side. And then we'll focus on this. We'll take the analog sticks and just push those on here. And you can see it has a little flat side to it. And that's going to go into the flat hole. So you just put it in, and push it down until that is perfectly aligned there. Do the same on this one, just like that. And they should be working fine. Then we'll take the bumpers, and there is no left or right, it's just a bumper. We're going to put that on the top piece here, just push that in. We'll do the same on the other side. So just like that. Then we'll put that to the side. We'll take our triggers, which we're going to put into the bottom casing. And again, there's no right or left. You just pop them in with the wings towards the top, so that when you're holding it, you should have the number 2s visible. And then number 1 would be the bumpers. So you put that here, and then we'll put this all together. And the first thing we need to do is put the circuitry for the bumpers down, and also the trigger connections. So that goes down first. We'll just align that. You can also see here it's got some cutouts, some holes, and that is for those 3 pins in a row right there. So that'll align itself perfectly. And then just push that down. And then we're going to take this light, and that is going to pretty much hold that in place where it's supposed to be. And then we can take the triggers and just flip over. Make sure that we have the cord on the side with these 3 pins, because that's going to be wiggled around there. And then we'll take that cord. It's kind of hard to see here, but I will show you once I put it on. So we wrap the cord around those 3 pegs. Just like so. And I think I nudged the analog light. Yeah. So we're going to have to put that back together again. Come here. Yeah, sorry, I knocked that out. So we're just going to put that back in place. Which is easier said than done from this position. There we go. And then I've got the cord at the top, so now we can just align those analog sticks so that they go through. And then make sure that we're not pinching the cable, which we are. I don't know if you can see that, but that little bridge is nudging the cable. So we're just going to push the cable out of the way so that that goes down here smoothly. And now you can see how the cable is wrapped around these wires at the top here. So just like that. And, yep, that seems to be fine. So we'll then take those screws and screw that in place. Like that. And then the other screw at the top here. There we go. And then align these correctly. So that one goes here. And then of course this one goes over here. Let's see here. Just like that. The good thing about these is that since they've been locked in that position for so long, they pretty much have indentations on them. So you just line those sides up, and put it in, and it should be perfect. Same thing over here. Now that we've got those in place, we will take the bumpers and align these as well. So that is going to go, you can see how it's got a little like groove right here where you just push that into it. And when you get it right, it's just gonna go right in. There we go. So that one's in its place. We'll do the same over here. Just, you know, guide that in. There we go. You can see how it's all flush at the top. That means that you have it correctly. And then we'll take the bottom piece. And because those will fall out, everything here should be pretty secure. We're just gonna take this and then do a side-wide insert. So just like this. And you can see here that I've got a cable here that shouldn't be there. So we're gonna have to get that out of the way. So let's do that again. Yeah. So let's put these back in. And then let's put these cords properly. So there we go. So you can see here when the cords are properly aligned, they're kind of sandwiched in between these little holes and out of the way. And one of them had come loose earlier, and that's why I couldn't put it together again. So let's do this again. And then just put this slowly but surely together again, just like that. And yeah, that feels good. So then we can screw all the screws back together again. There we go, and just make sure that all the buttons are nice and clickety. And then we'll finish the whole thing with some orange pledge, and this one is good as new. So just like that. And again, I want to thank you so much for watching, and I hope you found it interesting. If you did, please give it a like and subscribe. Also, please use my Amazon affiliate links. It does really help me out making these videos. And again, thank you so much. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!